y'all. Good evening. Good evening. Jew is going to introduce our topic tonight because it is his topic and it's pretty good.
Oh, I gotta go on Facebook and share Payne Reality first. Sorry. Um, but good evening, good evening. So our topic, it's not going to be about Lori Harvey and Michael B. Jordan, but the idea for the topic came from their relationship ending. I don't want to say I did research, but I kind of read up on it a little bit as far as like why people said that they ended it, and it basically boiled down to being at two different places in their lives. His mindset, I guess, at 35 was he's ready to settle down, get married, white picket fence and all that, yada yada yada. Hers at 25.
How old is he?
35.
35.
Hers at 25 was I'm still young. I want to live life and have fun. Whatever that means. So basically,
wait.
What?
Did you say whatever that means?
Yeah.
Like, dude, you wasn't ready to get married at no 25.
I know, but I'm saying whatever that means because basically they broke it off, or she broke it off when he wanted to get married, and like, okay, she wanted to have fun and said all that, but everybody's saying they both are heartbroken, or like they were both so broke up about it. You know what I'm saying? So like, I get it. Like, you had those feelings, but at the same time, like, just like we seen somebody last week that said she was for the streets. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, I guess in the last 4 or 5 years, she done dated 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stars. So
you had to count it out.
I mean, I don't know if that's true, like how many, but it's been quite a few. But
that's her. Okay, go ahead.
I'm not saying it's not her prerogative. What I'm saying is maybe that's what she want to be free to just date whoever or whatever, and that's perfectly fine. My thing was my topic or question, or topics of discussion are like when you have that age gap, or you have that we're on two different mental waves, or even spiritually, like we're at two different places. Like, how do you figure out whether or not to, okay, let's just be engaged and work on it? Okay, let's end the relationship. Like, how do you go from a year and a half, hey, we in love, to he ready to get married, hey, we done? You know what I'm saying? Like, because a lot of people aren't necessarily in the same exact space when they get married. I think that's kind of common. But most people are like, well, we just gonna be engaged until we either get closer to what we, you know what I'm saying, closer to matching up, or we like, how do you come to that conclusion? When is it like, you know what? No.
So this was a mutual decision between both of them, that is no. Or didn't she turn down his proposal?
She basically, I don't know the whole story of it, but basically, yeah, he was ready to get married. She wasn't. So she pretty much ended it. Is what I gathered.
Got it.
I'm trying. But but both of them was back out. He was out the next night or 2 nights later at the Golden State game. She was out at some wedding shower. You know what I'm saying? So, Lori Harvey and Michael B. Jordan.
So the basis of our topic tonight is not necessarily about them, but some of the stuff surrounding, how do we get to the point of we're getting married or it's a no? Like, how do we get to that point? So what I said in reference to that is, So what I said, I guess the biggest thing is how can society basically is determining he looked good, he got money, and he asked this 25-year-old girl to marry him, and she should have just accepted his proposal because everything looks good on the outside and he got all this stuff to offer her. And so my thought process is, why does that have to be the determination of why she should marry him. Everybody simply is not ready to get at 25. Listen, how old was I when I first got married? I was 20. I had Jalen and Janai when I was 25 or 26. And I think I got married at like 23, my first marriage. 23, I think, maybe 24 in my first marriage did I get married. And to be perfectly honest, and this could literally be a whole different episode, and I was not ready to get married. There were other factors, the reason why I went on ahead and got married, which weren't good. Now hindsight is 2020. If I would have known and been a little more obedient back then, I probably would not have gotten married. But in reference to her, I'm happy she said no, because at the end of the day, if she had have said yes 2 3 years down the line, what is that going to look like for them? If I'm already not ready to get married, but I said yes because everybody society wise is pushing me. Oh, he looks great, he's rich, he's famous, all the women want him, and you decide no. Like, what happened? Like, I don't think that's being fair to her personally. Almost dropped that.
I mean, I don't know, because a lot of people have a lot of different theories. I've heard that it was a contract between them. I've heard that it was a status thing. Like, okay, she date him. He's up and coming. He was, I guess, accused of usually dating, you know, European women, and this was his way. His last two or three girlfriends have been a way to kind of get back that black fan base or whatever. Then other people, somebody else said that he was too nice. Like, she didn't want to marry because he was too nice. I just like want to have a conversation about the age gap. Like, the age gap. First off, like,
It's Teresa. Come on
what
now.
she say? What she say? But she should know not every man is going to play her future games. You're sick.
So in general, because that thing happened, it kind of sparked conversation here and in general. And so something me and you began to talk about was, and I'll use us as the example. Um, when when you and I got married, I was 31. You was what? 32.
26.
Jew was 32 when we got married. And so Jew's coming from never being married. To me, I'm coming from being married in a very in a very toxic and abusive relationship. And so y'all is crazy, first of all. And so I would say, what was the discussion? So me and you had been, we was friends for a very very long time. So at one of these random conversations me and you had, we told each other, if we're not married, we really literally had this conversation, if we are not married by a certain age, we was gonna marry each other. You remember this conversation?
Yeah,
Why you had to say it like that?
I'd say yeah.
So me and you had that conversation, like, oh well, we had married each other if we ain't married to other people at this point in our life. Now, mind you, this was coming after I had already been married. And the conversation, well, actually on my end, the conversation came back up again, where we was like, oh well, we're at the age and we are not married. So me and you kind of, this was after the stalking actually.
We're gonna keep on, Shanti Monroe.
So okay, so just to give y'all a little back, because this is like the perfect opportunity to have this conversation. So me and you kind of started dating again when we both ended up at the bush. Now, although I joke a lot about you coming to the bush, I really think that was a God thing, because Jew came to the burning bush and he found his whole entire family that he didn't know he had. So I believe, God orchestrated things the way he needed to orchestrate things so he could find his family.
Shout out, family.
So Jew finds his family at the Burning Bush Church.
Half the members.
Yes, half the members ended up being his family. Girl, bye. So although I joke about it, I think it was some spiritual stuff, surrounding that. So me and you have this conversation. However, in between a lot of talk, I made the decision to break things off with Jew. So we joke a lot about our relationship, but there came a point where there came a point where I decided I needed to have, and this is why this is a perfect conversation to have. There came a point where I decided I wanted to have more God in my life. And me and Jew didn't always do things holy. It's the best way we're going to put it. We didn't always do things holy. And so for me, I was like, look, I had to get to a point where if God was going to do this thing, we needed to, on somebody's part, be holy. Okay. So I called it quits. Don't do it, Teresa. We needed to be holy. Listen, a lot of times people don't remain holy in the dating phase. And I believe that can mess a lot of things up because the commandment is to be holy. And some people don't be holy. So needless to say, Jew and I we weren't remaining holy. And I wanted to have a better relationship with God. And so I called it quits. I was like, I can't do it anymore. And I began to pray and I told God, I said, if I can't have this and we do things right, then I don't want it at all. I finally had to say that because for so long, I was doing things my way, and me and you, we saved. So we're going to speak to that. Okay. So, although I loved him and I wanted that thing to be for us, I had to make the decision is either we're going to do this the wrong way or one of us is going to allow God to do this thing. So I chose to walk away at that point. And I think we ended up separated, about a year before we actually ended up married? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was about a year where we were just friends. Now, although we weren't just friends, we were actually just friends. I hope everybody understands that. And I don't mean to say that we were not being holy, because that's not what I mean. But we didn't call ourselves a couple. Now, those are conversations we can have another day because I felt like just because we called it quits, he was supposed to still be truthful to me. And so that's another conversation for another day, y'all.
Definitely another day.
So, anyways, I began to pursue God. I began to pursue a relationship with God because that's what my heart wanted. And so I say all that to say is sometimes people are in two totally different areas in their life. Jew had to decide on his own that he at least wanted to give God a try. Now, although Jew came to the burning bush and he found a lot of his family, a lot of his saved Holy Ghost filled family. I won't necessarily say, do you think that was a trajectory your life was trying to take, is I had this amazing relationship with God?
No.
Exactly. So you act like I don't know you, dude.
I didn't say that.
Well, you was looking at me like
no, I was looking at you like you already know it wasn't.
Okay. So he wasn't looking for a relationship with God.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say I wasn't looking for no relationship.
He wasn't looking for the relationship I needed.
I was one of those. It ain't that deep.
People. Yes,
put it that.
He was.
Can we say that?
We can say that.
You saying like I just want to be.
But what I'm saying, no, that's not what I mean. What I'm saying is what I determined at that point, where God was taking me at that point, was not lining up with where you were, and so it has to be a point where we got to make the decision that if God can't be in this thing, then one of us got to call it quits.
Chill, Shirley Wells.
I mean, because she know both of us.
I know about them butt whoopings and spades, but I digress.
We talked about that the first episode.
I know.
There's no need to bring all of that back up.
But you always bringing up stalking. You and Ashanti Monroe.
No, I didn't bring it up this time. So whatever. So we just really had to make that decision. And so from your point of view, what was it that made you be like, this is a sure thing for me?
What do you mean?
When it came to us getting married. Like, so if we're talking from a standpoint of, okay, we're calling it quits, um, and listen, one of the biggest reasons that we called it quits is because I wanted to live holy and you did not. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, but it
I
just
mean, there's
goes
something
to,
wrong with it. If
well,
but
well,
at the,
yes, okay, yes, I didn't mean it that
but
way.
I get it. I
Yes,
know we like. I mean, like Lori and Michael, we were on
yes,
two different wavelengths.
we
I
were on
mean,
two different
it just
wavelengths.
was.
But so, what was it? Yes, true.
No,
No, that's actually true.
how is that true?
Okay, that's a conversation for another
It
day.
is. I don't even know what that means. Like most men,
Go ahead.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, we already passed
But
that.
I mean, for me, it was just. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it wasn't like to me. It was like, oh well, it ain't that drastic. It ain't that. You know what I'm saying? It ain't that deep. Like when you talk about the God and the spiritual stuff and all that. So for me, really, it was yeah, it was God, but it was more so like thinking like um it was fate. You know what I'm saying? Like where you look at it and you like, okay, all these different times we'd been separated or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? And not just hey, we was dating and we broke up or whatever, but separated.
Sorry, that was accident. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But separated like you went and lived your life or whatever, got married. Da, 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 da. I went and lived my life, dated whoever I dated, da da da. And somehow or another, it was almost like Hancock. Remember Hancock?
Hancock. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
like time to shut her down, Hancock.
We
But
watched
remember,
TV. Go ahead.
but remember,
So
remember
weird.
how she told him like the way they were born, like there was always going to be that attraction, like they would always find each other. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, it was that kind of thing where it was like,
That's true, Shanti. It is. So Joe didn't agree that it's most men.
of
And
course, 'cause it's
Shanti,
not.
yeah.
Oh Lord. Anyway,
Go
get
ahead.
her off. But no, to me it was kind of that type of thing where it was like, okay, this is you know what I'm saying, like for a reason. Because like even though I haven't always been like spiritual or like that, I've always felt like everything happens for a reason, and the stuff that's supposed to happen is going. You know what I'm saying is going to happen. So if you went 3,000, 4,000 miles away and we stayed in contact, stayed cool, you know what I'm saying, never
He
like
means that he had a dream and was talking to me in his dream. This is the part he's talking about. Okay, go ahead.
are you
Sorry.
done?
Yes, I'm done. Go
Are
ahead.
you finished as well?
I mean, that brings to light what you're saying. You had a dream that I called you to say I was moving back from California.
Okay, but
Okay.
you be trying to throw it out there like Ashanti, you're right. Here's the stalking
Go.
part.
Okay, we
Right.
passed it now.
But like I said, it's like
I'm sorry.
I can't do it. I'm off this podcast.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But it's just kind of like I don't know, because I'm not real like the universe and the stuff. But you know what I'm saying? Like to me,
Yeah, there might be
everything
witchcraft there, but
yeah, but I'm saying like everything lines up, you know what I'm saying, the way it's supposed to. So for me it was like, okay, there's a reason that we really never lose contact, or there's a reason that okay, after all these years, you know what I'm saying, like the chemistry so to speak is still the same. Like you know how you talk about having friends that you don't see for a long time, but when you see them it's like there's still that same exact energy as if we saw each other every day.
yes.
So for me it was kind of that type of thing where it was like you know it's God but you're not a spiritual person all like that. So that's what made me know it was like okay.
A sure thing. I was a sure thing. Or as we learned, I was your favorite. That's what the Bible says.
Let's read this next comment.
The Bible says, he who finds a wife, what? Finds a good thing and
All
obtains
right, continue.
favor.
So okay, so
Don't play me now.
so when like that's what I'm saying. Like not just even on the spiritual side, but just in general, like the age gap. What's too big of an age gap? Or like is there a way if there's that age gap, can you be engaged and wait until okay, I'm 25, he's 35 or she's 35, and all right, wait till I get 30 and then you 40? Or is it just hey, that 10 years, we're always going to be in different places, in different spaces?
Like okay, this is Payne Reality, so I have to bring it back to us. I think in any relationship that you're in, there's growth or not. And so, okay, perfect example. It's all about mindset. So for me, there's been times in our marriage where I felt as if you were not on the same page with me. And so it didn't mean that. Now, listen, I believe in full transparency. Jew has never said he wanted a divorce. I probably said it 1,000 times. There has been times in our marriage where I feel like I'm on this level and Jew was on this level, and we not seeing eye to eye in a lot of areas. And for me, I'll be like, listen, I don't got time. Why don't we just call it quits? Because it's not working right now. However, growth occurs, and so then you sit down and you communicate and you had that conversation. Now, I don't think her being 25 and him being 35 really, I don't think it was an age thing. I really think it was, yes.
Right, but that can be attributed to the age based off of just life experience then.
Well, not necessarily, because women mature mentally sooner than men. He probably just reached the age of full maturity at 35. For
Well,
a
I don't
man.
know if you could say probably, who knows? But what I'm saying is based off of what he's been through in his life, different experiences, different relationships, and stuff like that. Mentally, he's at a different place. Doesn't necessarily mean he's more mature. That wasn't what I was trying to say. I'm just saying, like, I mean, for him, okay, take it like this. Like, most times, in my opinion, is women that are like, man, my clock is ticking.
Mm-hmm.
I think for him, it seems like maybe he's like, I'm 35, it's time.
Gotcha.
My clock is ticking. For her, I'm 25, it ain't time, brother.
But I also think we have to have a conversation too, and not just about them, but in general. For me, okay, so Jew tells the tale because I don't be telling it. He tells the tale. Well, you said I was your husband, which I did.
Right. So, I mean,
You
My
gonna tell
but
it? You gonna make me a stalker?
I mean, there's a lot of different, stuff in our relationship over these last, what, 18, 19 years or something like that. It's just been a lot. So, he has his version, I have my version. That's all I will say. However, I believe it got to a point, and I'll bring it back to us deciding that, well, me deciding that I had to go. Yes, they do. Um, that I had to go my separate way for that time period. But I had to get to a point, even when we came back together and we decided, okay, we're getting married. For me, although you grow in your marriage and you find out, a lot of different things about that other person, you probably feel like he's been there, done that, and he is ready to settle at this point in his life. Taj agree with you about something, Jew. Um, if because I had been married before, now I'll tell people all the time, like Jew makes me laugh. This has been one of the our friendship, and the fact that I feel peace and joy and laughter when I'm with him. This is one of the reasons why I can always fight another day. I didn't always have that. So when it came to us getting together, us being married, having to make a go of this thing, yeah, there's certain things that happen in marriage that gets on my nerves and I'm ready to go. But God always reminds me that this is what He brings you. This is what He gives to you that you needed in your life. So for her or anybody in general, it has to come a point that, yeah, he might look good, he might got all this money, he might got all this stuff that society says is a great amazing thing, but when it comes to your mental peace, when it comes to all of those, your emotional peace, can that person be the person that brings you that? And if that person can't bring you that, and that's on a natural as well as a spiritual level, then I'm okay with being like, yeah, you might be rich and famous and you got a mansion, but I don't feel you can do that for me. And so it's time for me to bow out, because clearly at this point in our relationship, you're heading this direction. And although I love you and I like being with you and spending all this time with you, at the end of the day, maybe I just don't feel like, over the next 10 years, you'll be able to pour into that. That's the way I see it. But
I mean, that's understandable. I understand. I can understand that. My like I I don't know. I can't say I find it hard to believe that you just y'all like they just figured that out, or you just figured that out at the moment that you're like, no, it's over. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to get married, or no, we're gonna break this off. Like for you saying that we weren't gonna be together because you wanted a closer relationship with God. You didn't just come up with that in one day.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's over time. And like we would have you know what I'm saying? We would have conversations. It was just it didn't come to fruition until a certain point. You know what I'm saying? So like that's my thing thinking about it is like, okay, those conversations and leading up to, especially when you're talking about marriage. You're talking about marriage, like when we first have that conversation, as far as age gap, that age gap isn't closing. You know what I'm saying? Like my mentality isn't necessarily even changing. Like Joe said, if he feel like he been there, done that, you've had that conversation probably months before that.
Yeah, so then I'm looking at him. Well, what was the point of you asking her to marry you anyway? Because clearly you didn't have this conversation.
I'm looking at both of them. Because realistically, like if we like, because like I said, it's not gonna, to me, it doesn't just pop up that day. Unless it's just something that you just do in that moment that's just so bad where you're like, okay, deal
Now,
breaker.
her dad is Steve Harvey.
That's her stepdad actually, but yes.
So, I mean, Steve Harvey can be a little ratchet sometimes. Um, Lori wants to be. I don't know what that means.
304. What's 304?
Yep, he probably did think he could change her
Why y'all
mind.
keep saying probably? Can we say maybe? Like y'all painting this picture, and I'm not saying dude is squeaky clean, but y'all painting this picture like dude might have been, like he could have been manipulative. So could she have? You know,
Well, she the one that turned him down. But you know, okay, I get you. This might be a man versus woman point of view.
I
here.
mean, I'm just, no, I mean that not to me, but I'm just saying in general. Like when you say probably, it's like okay, I've seen a pattern from him doing that before, or you know what I'm saying. Like, but if you say okay, maybe he was this, or maybe then it's like okay, that's just throwing it up there that maybe it was this, maybe it was that.
Hey, why she just call us old? First of all,
That's what she said.
yeah, she said she can't say it because we old.
Wow,
Don't do us, Teresa.
at all. At some point, she had to give him the impression that marriage was on the table
We
after a
about to
year of
dive
dating.
in. We about to dive into this, Joseph. Give
It's
me a
cool,
minute.
Ashanti Monroe. I understand.
Now, back to Joe's comment. I don't agree.
Okay, let's read Joe's comment again. At some point, she had to give him the impression that marriage was on the table after a year of dating.
Now, because I keep saying I don't want our conversation to necessarily be about them, I am going to say, okay, you know, because they're the, you know, what sparked this conversation. What I will say is when you have money, I think I think your dating life tends to be a little bit different when you have money. So for her at 25, she's been introduced to all of these different things. So maybe in her head, because she's 25. You know, I know a lot. I was in my mid 20s when I first got married. I wasn't always holy. So marriage wasn't something I was thinking about. There came a point when something happened that made me be like, oh, maybe it's time for me to get married. But before then, marriage wasn't. I wasn't one of those people that was like, well, I got to be married at this age, and I want to have 2.5 kids at this age. I wasn't that person either. Like I said, it's something happened that made me say, oh, maybe another conversation for another day. But that's when I decided, like, okay, well, maybe it's time to get married. So for her, I think you can date somebody for a year because we're having fun. Like, yeah, they had this relationship that painted a picture for us on social media, but I I personally think this talk of marriage suddenly happened. You know what? I think the talk of marriage suddenly happened, and then she was like, I'm not ready for that. That's not where I was going with this relationship. I'm just having fun because, I mean, I'm dating Michael B. Jordan. And we was having fun. We ain't never talk about marriage. And then you, sir, decided you want to change your mind and be like, okay, I'm in love now. Let's get married. You know how many times I felt like I was in love and you was not in love? And I wanted our relationship to go somewhere that he didn't want our relationship to go. And listen, let me tell you, this dude right here was very cut and dry about it. That ain't what I'm looking for right now.
Would you rather I lied or made something up?
I'm just saying it could have been said a little bit sweeter than the way he said it.
I mean, I
I
get
mean, maybe we are a little old.
I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, that conversation can just pop up. It really can. I mean, we don't know the ins and outs of it. Like Ashanti said, or somebody said they read or something that Steve Harvey didn't approve. I mean, I was reading stuff on it and I seen where I think his wife or somebody else said something.
Wait, who's Steve Harvey?
Yeah, or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, said some slick stuff or whatever, and people was assuming it was about dude or whatever. I don't know. At the end of the day, I mean, I agree. Lene ages ain't nothing but a number. But at the same time, I do think that plays or can play a big part in, and not even saying maturity, but just in what your mindset might be. Even because I mean, you look at okay, we dating when I'm 34, 33, or whatever I am at the time. And maybe he wrote in school by the time I'm 35, I'm gonna be married or da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows? I just think that sometimes it's so difficult when there are gaps. There are different levels. Like y'all said, maturity level, spirituality, age level, stuff like that. I mean, it all can be, and I mean, realistically, most people have been there. I mean,
we've been there.
Yeah, I can't speak for everybody, but I think most people have been there at some point in time. Whether it's when you're dating, whether it's when you're thinking about getting married, whether it's when you get married, you feel like Tia said, you see, she put herself way up here, and I was way down here.
You remember that from way back?
Yeah, like 3 minutes ago. Yeah, when you said you was up here and you slided me in down yonder.
I'm just saying, you have to, in marriage, you have to agree that at some point you had to think we were on two different wavelengths.
Of course.
All right. So I mean,
yeah, but mine could have been higher than yours, or maybe I was looking like I'm up here, she down here.
Okay, that's what I was about to say.
But maybe clearly, you like I'm up here.
It was not. I didn't mean it cool. Like that. I was just showing our different levels that we can be.
We
is
at different places.
Now because I am who I am. We're going to talk about the spiritual aspects of this.
I thought we already were.
We ain't. I mean, we shifted, and it's about to be a spiritual conversation. So there came a point in our marriage. You remember when I got those shirts printed for us, Partnered in Purpose?
Yeah.
So I tell people all the time, I pray, y'all. I am going to pray, and I just need to seek some answers because sometimes I just be needing to know. And although I will say I have been the one in our marriage to throw the D word out, like, let's think divorce, I'm also the one that I'm going to get on my face or I'm going to seek counsel so I can know. And so I remember this one point in time when I got these shirts printed. This was like probably pre-COVID, I'm going to say. Was it? Maybe pre-COVID. I got these shirts printed. The reason I got these shirts printed is because I had been praying. And something that God dropped on me was that there was a purpose for me and you getting together. Now, over the years, God has shown me different things. Like, I asked God, why Jew? Like, why is he the person? Now, mind you, and marriage is not easy. It's just not. Marriage is not easy. And you're going to go through some struggles in your marriage. So if you're looking to get married, you heard it. It's not easy. And you really literally have to make the decision that I'm in it for the long haul. Divorce is not an option. Like, we going to work through this stuff. We going to reach some longevity in this marriage. You at some point you got to have that conversation. Like, what's our deal breakers? And so, but I had began to pray, and God showed me that there is a purpose for your marriage. Yes, it's great, to feel the warm snugglies and the butterflies and all of this other type of stuff. But at the end of the day, there is a purpose for your marriage. And so, just through things God showing me, I'm like, oh, so, we like partnered in purpose, and I thought that was cute. So I decided to get it put on our shirt. It was established in 2009 that we've been partnered in purpose. Now, that was 3 years ago. In this 3 years since God gave me that, we've talked about divorce probably 3 times on my end.
Yeah, I'm about to say she talk about it.
I mean, I've been honest that it's been me. It's been me that talk. Why haven't you? You ain't never get to the point where you've been like, I need to go. You ain't never get to that point.
Probably.
Well, don't I sit here and act like just because I said the word that you ain't been there though.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, being there and like knowing like I ain't going nowhere, she ain't going nowhere, is different than hey, let me put that in the atmosphere.
So listen, when I talk divorce, I have plans.
Exactly.
I mean plans like this is where I'm about to live and
Exactly.
the kids to stand with you.
Okay. Exactly.
When
so if I'm not talking about it, I have no plans.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll take that. Joe is with you.
Thank you, Joseph.
Because that's your name, Joseph. I'm just saying. So yes, when I've said it, there's been real plan. Like I'm out. Like I'm one of those type of people that if I'm saying something like 9 times out of 10, there's a plan. There's a plan in place. And so since that point, it's been about 3 times that I've been like, no. Joe says, that's how I feel,
My bad.
Because everybody called me all these names that they be calling me because it just happens to be like T-Pain. So I had to get everybody back. That's Taj. I call him Tajables. I don't even know where it came from, but hey. But I've been that one. I'm being honest. I've been the one to, bring up that word. And it's cut and dry for me. Like I'm not the most emotional person. I'm just not. When I'm at a point of being tired, I feel like I'm at a point of being tired. But I also feel a lot of the issue that we've had has been the differences spiritually. I think that's been our biggest thing. Like I was raised. Okay, so although my father was abusive, he was a pastor. So there's a lot of craziness in that history, but the one thing I can say, he did give us a foundation when it came to having a relationship with God. So although I ain't always been holy, when I decided to give my life back to God, I really gave my life back to God. Not to say that there hasn't been different struggles and things that I had to get delivered from over the years, but when I'm out here on my face praying, you sleep. So that's how I seen it. And so for me, it became one of those things of I need somebody that's praying with me. I need somebody that's going to be on their face with me. And if he's not that person and we're struggling here, the first thing I can think of is, well, why I got to struggle? I'm not saying I'm divorcing you so I can go find somebody that's going to pray with me. But what I am saying is, well, I can struggle and pray by myself and not have the headache, if you will, of dealing with what's going on in my marriage. For me, it's always been easier. Like it's been how you say it? Compartmentalized?
Yeah.
Okay, however you say it. In my head, and that's what it is for me. Jew is like how he is now. Jew's very calm. We've never argued. Ever.
Maybe that's the problem. We need to argue. Or
you
not.
Want to? I mean, we can.
No.
I be having stuff to argue about, like all these bags he leaves sitting around the house.
I'm sure.
But so he's very even keeled. So although I'm not an emotional person, like I don't be crying and I don't do all that type of stuff. Like I just feel like, what's the point? I don't do all that. His even keeledness, when I'm having a moment, I need something. Like, can you clap? Can you raise your voice? Can you sneeze? He sits like this, even. And so that brings out a side of me that I'd be like, okay, I want a divorce then, because can you say something? Can you not just say, okay? So all of these things. And so God began to show me all of these things. Like sometimes you're just not equally yoked in your marriage, you're not equally yoked in your relationship. That was a hard thing for me when I had to realize that we weren't equally yoked spiritually. Spiritually, we weren't equally yoked. And although in the beginning I didn't see it that way, as we continued on in marriage, what did he say? I mean, for lack of a better word, Joseph, I needed some clapback. And you will laugh and joke and do all of these things. But listen, dude is not about to argue with you. He's just not. He's definitely not about to argue with me. And I'm not saying I like to argue because I don't. I'm a peaceful person, actually. I prefer peace. Peace. I like peaceful environments. I try to make our home peaceful. But when you in a relationship with somebody, can we have some action packed words? Y'all see how he looking? This is exactly how he be looking at me when I'm saying I be having it laid out all this stuff. This dude be sitting here looking just like this. I mean, so sometimes I need some clapback. Okay, I do. And Jude don't be about that life. He calm. He's cool. Now I will say when there has been moments where I appreciated his calmness because we can go out to eat. If somebody's staring at me, I'm ready. Can I help you with something? And you, on the other hand, like Tia, not today. Can you not do this today? And I just be like, well, they staring at me. So why can't I say something? So okay, healthy balance. For lack of it's a healthy balance sometimes. Yes, yeah. You know what? You have just spoken to a side of me that feels that. Um, but I keep getting off track because y'all be funny, so I be getting off track. Um, but there came a point where I literally had to realize that spiritually we were not on the same level spiritually. And so I think when it comes to certain conversations before marriage, you have to have those conversations. You have to be in a space to realize I'm here spiritually, you there spiritually, and maybe spiritually together we not working. And a lot of times because we're emotionally invested, I should never clicked on your comment, Joseph. I think a lot of times, when we're in the moment of all of the emotions, we are not willing to have conversations that we need to have. So I felt like because you at the burning bush, that you're gonna get some of all this Jesus that's around the burning bush, and it didn't happen like that. And so a lot of times when I would bring stuff to him, it was of the spiritual nature. Like, are you praying for me? Are you discerning what I'm discerning? What's going on spiritually? Do you know what your calling is? Like these are conversations me and you had after marriage. But these are conversations we should have had before marriage. Now God honors all marriages, correct? He does. But at the same time, that does not mean that we're not going to struggle in our marriage because when it came to the spiritual side of things, we weren't equally yoked. We just wasn't. Now, do I think there has been growth in our marriage, both on his end and my end spiritually? Yes, I do. But I really wish that those things could have been there before. Yes, like sometimes you literally have to ask that question. But I was so emotionally invested when we decided we were going to get married. I wasn't thinking spiritual. I literally wasn't. I was thinking like, yeah, that's my boo thing. We're about to get married. That's what I was thinking. It had nothing to do with, the spiritual side of stuff. It just didn't. Exactly. So we get to this point where God began to show me, the purpose of our marriage. And so, that came with some maturity too, because I I always say there comes a point in your marriage where we've been married, almost 13 years, but the Tia of 7 years ago is not the same Tia today, naturally and spiritually. And it has to be the same with him. But if you're not invested enough to realize that those changes happen, you might end up divorced, you know? So now I ain't gonna talk about what I think our partnered in purpose is. That can be a whole nother episode as well. But I do think you have to have the conversation, and not necessarily with him. The conversation should have been had with God. God, is this the person that's going to help me fulfill the purpose you have for my life? And then, yes, I believe it's twofold because marriage is a ministry. And so, a question you should be praying about, like, God, what is our purpose together as the man? Like, what is the purpose of this marriage? Because the men get the vision, right? So what's the purpose of this marriage, God? Where do you have us going? Like, what is Tia and Jew supposed to achieve? You know, that's part of my prayer now. Like, I made that a part of my prayer. Girl, if you know, you know. I'm just saying. Yes. I think that should be a part of our prayer because as a couple, like, I mean, do you think you have an idea of what our partner in purpose is?
No, that's something you said God gave you. What?
No.
I'm saying you said that's something God gave you.
I know.
So, I mean, obviously, I think there's a purpose in our union, but I mean, is what I think or I believe going to be what He gave you?
Yes, it could be.
Maybe.
We serve the same God.
We do.
We are one.
We are.
So he would give you the same stuff he's giving me concerning this marriage.
Maybe.
He would.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Like, we can't be one and he giving you a different vision, and I'm not even the vision head person. The man is. So he has to have given you some vision. This is the kind of conversations we have. I be so excited, y'all. I be excited. I just be excited. Teresa said you have no answer.
You better chill out, Teresa Evans.
Look at this.
Yeah, I don't know what they laughing at.
Because it's Jew. That's how you see it. Like, Jew, really? This is the type of conversations we be having. Because I'll be like, and Jew be like, he be like this.
I don't be like this all the time.
Would you like to discuss when you don't are not like this?
No, we on a topic. I do think that. What's
sorry,
so funny?
Nothing.
No, because we talking about being unevenly yoked and all that spiritually.
That was just
like
something that I thought was a great part of this.
I know. Topic. I'm just saying. Like, I think that sometimes people look at, and granted, you look at, what is this?
It was funny. I'm on his side right now. It was funny though.
Anyway, so I mean, I think sometimes people look at things like in that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, sometimes people end up divorced and stuff like that. I think that sometimes people are like, and yeah, you have every right to ask whatever questions you ask before you get married and stuff like that. But I think that a lot of times people want a ready-made or like a not even necessarily a finished product, but I want you to be what I want you to be right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, or even like taking those steps. And it's like, that's not always realistic. Cause like in our situation, like you said, you were raised in the church. Your upbringing helped create the desire to have a relationship with God. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? More so than what my upbringing would have. Because I wasn't raised in church. Did I go to church sometimes? Sure. Was I raised in church? No. So believe in God and all that stuff, but not coming in understanding like what it meant to actually like pursue a relationship with God, or to be like, okay, I told you, one of them people is like, it ain't that drastic. Yeah. Like we can be unholy, we can do whatever we want to do, as long as we repent. It was one of them people where you like,
hey, what you?
Hey, you do what you need to do.
That sounds terrible right now.
It sounds terrible, but I mean, you said you like transparency.
That's true. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that at that time, that you know what I'm saying, that and it might not even been a conscious thing where I'm like openly saying that, but it's something where it was like, okay, it ain't that drastic. Like I know you have to repent. So as long as you do what you do and then you repent, you good. You know what I'm saying? So like sometimes I think when people are in those situations, I don't think sometimes, and not saying you, but people don't take into account how somebody may have been raised. You know what I'm saying? Or like even the teaching they may have been under could be something different.
Yeah,
And
but I think that goes to the unequally yoked part too.
it does, and it can. What?
She was like that too.
See?
No, I mean I agree. I actually agree that that is how it is for some
Yeah,
people.
but I mean, I do think that it does take a lot of praying, a lot of understanding, because like I said, sometimes I think people get divorced and they're not supposed to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like because they do will be like, well, you ain't doing this and you ain't doing that, so I'm here and you here. We uneven. Okay, we gotta go. I gotta go. It's over. You know what I'm saying? And realistically, like you said, like sometimes God will tell you, like, no, you have a you're married for everybody's married for a purpose. It's a matter of okay, is our purpose fulfilled when we go get divorced?
Clearly not.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but it may be. You know what I'm saying? Like, it may be like,
Um,
I mean, but it, if something's happening to the point where you get divorced, you know what I'm saying? And you like, okay, this situation is that bad or that terrible to where okay, divorce is justified or whatever you want to say.
Okay.
Then it's like, okay, did we fulfill our purpose? Our purpose could have been be married for these 5 years, you know, because like we are saying, God knows everything that's going to happen. So if it gets to a point where, okay, justifiably we're getting a divorce after 5 years, okay, if I lay on my face and I pray about it, and God's like, look, your purpose in this marriage was to show people this, show people that, and we've done that.
But okay, so I need to get what you're saying. God don't like divorce. Now, I don't say that. Oh, that's actually pretty good. Now, I don't say that. I don't say that to say that there are not justifiable reasons for divorce, but I mean, I have to question that if after 5 years, if nothing horrible have happened in our marriage that would justify us getting a divorce, why are we getting a divorce?
I don't know. Like we talked. But I'm saying like I'm saying those deal breakers though. Like
okay, yeah.
I mean, even if okay, like we've been struggling in our marriage. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I've been praying and God is like, okay, fight. You know what I'm saying? Like fight for your marriage, or like it ain't time to go. It ain't time to go. And okay, after something else happened, and like down the line, it's like, okay, God is like, all right, I'm releasing you from this marriage.
But I mean, I think that's a good point that you're bringing up. But I think it would have to be something that God isn't in agreement with, not just.
What do you mean, as far as getting divorced?
Yeah, like you're saying, after 50,000 years of me dealing with these deal breakers, then God.
No, but I mean, if you don't get divorced, it ain't a deal breaker.
Well, what I'm saying is, I don't think when God said there are some things that's justifiable for divorce, He's talking about our deal breakers. I think He's talking about those things that He doesn't like.
Okay.
I don't think it has anything to do with me and you. Like not to that point, but I can't say I'm justifying getting a divorce because I'm tired of you smacking after 10 years. Did you not learn to close your mouth when you
I don't
eat?
chew with my mouth open.
I'm just saying, I don't mean you personally. I'm just saying, like, God ain't gonna justify me divorcing somebody.
I know, but that's what I like. I don't think you understand what I'm saying.
I don't.
Like I don't mean like that. I'm saying like you said, if it's something that like isn't acceptable in God's eyes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. You know, like if it's something that happens, whatever it is, however it's been built up, or the steps that have led to whatever divorce, something that you're doing that's not good in God's eyes, or whatever you want to say. I'm saying like your marriage still had a purpose, even in that small period of time.
Yes.
Okay. You know, that's what I'm saying. And I'm saying sometimes when people sometimes people want what they want. So they're like, yeah, I prayed, even though maybe they didn't, or they didn't pray a certain prayer, and it's still like, okay, I'm done. And so emotionally or naturally, they're like, I'm done. And because, okay, well, it sounds better to say, God, release me from this marriage, then it's like, okay, I think people short circuit sometimes their purpose. You know, you see what I'm saying? Like, like you said, people
Okay.
get divorced, but I think sometimes people get divorced off the strength of, hey, we're unequally yoked at this moment, in this moment, in this time period, for this past week or month or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? And like we'll jump to, hey, we need to get a divorce because of da 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 da. And it's like, but that wasn't what God want. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like you
So
just
okay.
said.
So and this is just a general question. Do you think then, let's just say somebody has been okay, so my first marriage was 5 years. I believe there was a purpose in that marriage because of my career, even though it was bad. But do you think when it comes to, based off of what you're saying, if in these 5 years, God honors, all marriages, in these 5 years, do you think before this 5 years came, there was at some point God said no? You know what I mean?
Said no what? To divorce, or
No,
said no
no,
to y'all getting married?
yeah, no to y'all getting married.
Um
Like,
I
and
think
this is a
sometimes I
spiritual.
think sometimes that happens and people ignore it. But I think that when you choose to ignore that no, I think that there's still you know what I'm saying, there's still a purpose in that
No, I mean,
marriage,
I get what you're
even though,
saying.
hey, you shouldn't have got married. Like God said no. But when you go forward with it, you said God honors marriage.
Mhm.
So there's something that you both either together are going to put out to the world or individually are going to put out to the world, even though you ignored the no.
I mean, I'll honestly say that's true of my first marriage. So, although I grew up in a domestic violence situation with my parents, there was no, I didn't have to get married to the person that I got married to repeat that
Right.
cycle. But even then, in that, God didn't say no, He said wait. And I
Mm.
believe if I would have heeded the wait, I would have at some point been like, absolutely not.
Right.
But because I didn't, then that created now, okay, I believe purpose in that marriage was fulfilled because
Mm.
now who else could God use to do the type of work I do from
Right.
the level that I do it from?
Right. But that and that
So,
and that's all I'm saying is like sometimes people cut that short. You know what I'm saying? Like your purpose was fulfilled in those however many years. Some people like cut that short because, well, my deal breaker is you've been smacking after 5 years. Or you've been, you know what I'm saying? You chew with your mouth open. Or like you fart when you sleep and I just can't take it. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like people be in the natural
yeah.
and then like kind of short circuit that is what I was saying. But in doing that, it's like, yeah, you started steps to fulfilling whatever purpose it was. But because you went off to do it naturally, you cut that short.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I believe if okay, you said you throw the D word out there, had we gotten divorced, you cut short our purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all I'm saying. Like,
So good and bad.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, whatever it is.
Makes
Um,
sense.
but it is 9:58.
Is it? We've been talking
Yeah,
that long?
yeah, it's 9:58, and y'all know how we like to be on
No,
time.
you know how Jew likes to be on time.
Well, she said it's from 9 to 10, folks. We don't want to hold y'all up. Maybe we'll extend the time and actually put that out there for people to know.
I mean, an hour's good.
See, an hour's good.
I'm just saying.
Mhm. You got any closing remarks
Here
in this last
he
20
go.
seconds?
Is it really just 20? Where? How you
I'm
know?
just saying it's 9:59, so 20 seconds.
So, I mean, I appreciate the conversation today. Like, I
Here
love
he
the
go.
fact that we call this Payne Reality because we don't script these conversations. So some stuff that we say is not conversations that we've previously had. Like this little piece, I've never heard his take on that. So some stuff is just not conversations that we have. So I think it kind of just flows with the fact that certain conversations, a lot of people don't want to talk about marriage from that standpoint because we see on social media all these amazing weddings and all people. First of all, people put so much into a wedding that they forget the marriage happens after that.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
That's just me. God been dealing with me about marriages. He really truly has. Not just my marriage. He's been dealing with me about the idea of marriage in general. And so, it's just certain things that's been on my heart because God do hate divorce. Although I know there's reasons why people get divorced. But a big thing for me is what the kids left behind. So there's just all these different factors that I think people have to think about before saying I do, or before continuing in relationships that our purpose ain't lining up at the end of the day. Like y'all both listen, y'all both can literally be saved and filled with the Holy Ghost. But if y'all's purpose together is not what God has called it to be, please go your separate ways. Because God may be leading you over here, may be leading him over here, and y'all was never supposed to end up married. So where's your purpose? What happened to your purpose and what happened to his purpose? Like one of those questions is he able to help me fulfill the purpose that God has on my life? Yes, I believe he is because we both work in the same field. I think a lot of what we do on the spiritual side is going to come back to Legacy 31. Personally, me, that's what I think. I'm hiring one day when I have an amazing grant. I'm just speaking it into the atmosphere.
150
Um,
grand a year.
Absolutely not. We're not going to do that.
Oh, my bad.
But I think those
Speak it.
are part. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. I really think those are conversations that has to be had, and I think if we're having those conversations, we're probably going to see the divorce rate go down. Listen, especially the divorce rate in church. A lot of people end up divorced because they refuse to have these type of conversations, even when they go through marriage counseling. Marriage counseling sometimes just becomes a formality. At the end of the day, some people go through marriage counseling as a formality. And we yeah, we went to man, you went to marriage counseling, and yeah, we had very good marriage counseling, but
Like,
some stuff you're not going to hit until you're married. But if you have these type of conversations, even if it's not in marriage counseling, if you have these type of conversations, I think it goes a long way in not having the conversation of divorce that I've had a lot in our marriage.
man, you had to say a lot like that.
I have.
Emphasis on lot.
I mean, we're talking to full transparency here. That's the purpose of Payne Reality.
Oh,
You
my
know,
bad. Realities.
go ahead.
All right. So all I have to say is every relationship is different. Like somebody said, age is just a number. Just depends on where you at in your life. Um, when you are at these have these differences and you're at different levels, regardless of what it is, just making sure that you pray. Um, and like Joe said, understanding and actually heeding the word of God and taking that direction. Obedience is also key. So like for me, just understanding that when you get married, there's her purpose. Well, there's both parties' individual purpose, but then there's that purpose that y'all have together. Um, I think not being short sighted is also a key. Not just looking at today, but looking at where God is taking y'all, where He's planning on taking you, him, them, whoever it is, or what have you. But just understanding that and just making sure that, like we said, you don't short circuit on whatever your purpose is supposed to be before that's fulfilled. As always, we want to thank y'all. Appreciate the laughs. Yes, definitely, Warren. Know your worth, King. Appreciate you. We'll be back next week with another topic that T is going to come up with this time. But it's 10:04, so we 4 minutes past what we supposed to do. We apologize. See y'all next week.
See y'all next week. This time I'm gonna throw up our ending.
I'm not going to say anything this time.
Yes, until it's time for. So have a
Can
good
y'all
night,
still see
y'all.
me?
I didn't even. Bye, y'all. This is Jude. He's invisible right now for whatever reason. Have a good night. If you guys have topics y'all want to discuss from our reality, please let us know. We got a whole history of stuff that we can talk about, but if y'all ever have anything, let us know. We'll talk about it as well. So, y'all have a good night.